What's going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Human Narrative Podcast. Clark here, and I'm bringing you one of my raw, unedited episodes because I think it's refreshing to not rethink these episodes sometimes and find inspiration in the moment based on how my week is going, or honestly, more importantly, how my conversations with others is going, which then inspires me to want to share something with every other listener or whoever's listening out there. So here we go. Today, this narrative based on this week is about why do bad things happen to us? Why does life feel so unfair? And I don't know if you caught the episode with Jay DePietro, but he opens it up with the idea that our perspective is either a prison or our power. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind when we're feeling like we don't know why life is being so bad to us. And I had this conversation with a friend, and then a couple nights ago, I was reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I'm picking it back up to reread it. And the first little section I read spoke on this point, and I want to share it. So I'm going to read from the book and then just share a few more thoughts. But if you are feeling like life is unfair and life is being really bad to you and you don't know why bad things keep happening, please listen to this. This is so powerful. And again, this is an excerpt from Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, which, by the way, I will put a link to this book in the episode notes because it is a powerful book. Now, a pretty interesting thing that he does in this book is not only does he write the book, but he also added questions from people that prompted his responses. If you know the book or you have the book, this is from page 180. And it's based on a question from someone that maybe this is at a conference that he's at. He did this amendment of the book at one point. It's like an organic book where he added questions that people asked wherever it might have been that he formed a response to. And he felt that it was important to put it in the book. And I'm really happy that he did, because this excerpt is based off a question. And it's titled "The End of Your Life Drama." And the question is this: in that state of acceptance and inner peace, even though you may not call it quote unquote bad, can anything still come into your life that would be called quote unquote bad from a perspective of ordinary consciousness? And Eckhart Tolle's response is this: most of the so-called bad things that happen in people's lives are due to unconsciousness. They are self-created, or rather ego-created. I sometimes refer to those things as quote unquote drama. When you are fully conscious, drama does not come into your life anymore. Let me remind you briefly how the ego operates and how it creates drama. Ego is the unobserved mind that runs your life when you are not present as the witnessing consciousness, the watcher. The ego perceives itself as a separate fragment in a hostile universe with no real inner connection to any other being, surrounded by other egos which it either sees as a potential threat or which it will attempt to use for its own ends. The basic ego patterns are designed to combat its own deep-seated fear and sense of lack. They are resistance, control, power, greed, defense, attack. Some of the ego's strategies are extremely clever, yet they never truly solve any of its problems, simply because the ego itself is the problem. When egos come together, whether in personal relationships or in organizations or institutions, quote-unquote bad things happen sooner or later. Drama of one kind or another, in the form of conflict, problems, power struggles, emotional or physical violence, and so on. This includes collective evils such as war, genocide, and exploitation, all due by masked unconsciousness. Furthermore, many types of illnesses are caused by the ego's continuous resistance, which creates restrictions and blockages in the flow of energy through your body. When you reconnect with being and are no longer run by your mind, you cease to create those things. You do not create or participate in drama anymore. Whenever two or more egos come together, drama of one kind or another ensues. But even if you live totally alone, you still create your own drama. When you feel sorry for yourself, that's drama. When you feel guilty or anxious, that's drama. When you let the past or future obscure the present, you are creating time, psychological time, the stuff out of which drama is made. Whenever you are not honoring the present moment by allowing it to be, you are creating drama. Most people are in love with their particular life drama. Their story is their identity. The ego runs their life. They have their whole sense of self invested in it. Even their usually unsuccessful search for an answer, a solution, or for healing becomes part of it. What they fear and resist most is the end of their drama. As long as they are their mind, what they fear and resist most is their own awakening. When you live in complete acceptance of what is, that is the end of all drama in your life. Nobody can even have an argument with you, no matter how hard he or she tries. You cannot have an argument with a fully conscious person. An argument implies identification with your mind and a mental position, as well as resistance and reaction to the other person's position. The result is that the polar opposites become mutually energized. These are the mechanics of unconsciousness. You can still make your point clearly and firmly, but there will be no reactive force behind it, no defense or attack, so it won't turn into drama. When you are fully conscious, you cease to be in conflict. Quote unquote, no one who is at one with himself can even conceive of conflict, states A Course in Miracles. This refers not only to conflict with other people, but more fundamentally to conflict within you, which ceases when there is no longer any clash between the demands and expectations of your mind and what is. So there is the excerpt from the book again, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, that began on page 180. The link is in the episode notes for the book. It's crazy powerful. But I also know that there's probably a lot of stuff in that maybe doesn't speak to so many people because you don't have the context of the entire book so far. And obviously, it's really easy to say that just be in the moment. Don't worry about yesterday. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just be in the moment. It is what it is. But that's not the simplest answer for most people to be able to chew on and swallow or even understand. So, in layman's terms, if you feel like things are just bad and bad things always happen to you, what if we just begin to look at these moments as opportunities to say, what do I need to learn? What do I need to change in my life? How do I need to grow? How do I need to evolve? How can I change my perspective on this situation? Because, like Eckhart Tolle is trying to say, maybe if we find a way to get towards a mentality where nothing is either good or bad, it just is, wouldn't that make the ups and downs of life a little more bearable? And I'm oversimplifying a narrative that we all struggle with because I myself, in the last few months here in 2024, I had some things thrown at me that I was not expecting that triggered up so much fear and insecurity and fears of failure and being a disappointment around finances and money. And I whispered, or I said to a friend, like, why does this shit happen to me? Does anyone else know anyone that has experienced what I experienced? And if we want to list, just take me as an example, right? If you, in those words, you'll hear that I fell into a victim mentality. Woe is me. Why is this happening to me? This is so unfair. And of course, I let myself feel it for a while. I let myself sit in the shit for a while. And I let myself kind of get depressed and frustrated and angry and resentful. But then I finally kind of stepped out and I said, all right, let's not give this situation power over me. Because again, remember, our perspective is a prison or it is power. And so I forced myself to take a step back. I forced myself to step out of my emotions, out of the fear, and just say, what is life trying to teach me right now? What can I learn from this situation about how to maybe do things differently next time if this ever happens again, or how to prevent this from happening? Or maybe the lesson is, how can I just not react or not give in to fear and anger and resentment when things go bad? Because, well, friends, like I probably say over and over and over, life is always going to be hard. I've been sober for 7 years in October of 2024. And like I tell the people at the Sober Webb community on YouTube and wherever I talk, life does not get easier when you get sober. And you don't have to have a drinking issue or a negative relationship with alcohol for this to be applicable, because we all have our coping mechanisms when life feels out of control and when life feels hard, but life is going to be up and down, and how we react to it is going to define whether we think things are good or bad. If we just can find a way to go with the flow of the moment and just to be more present to the fact that shit happens, but it doesn't have to define the rest of our day or the rest of the week or the rest of the year or, God forbid, the rest of our life. What if we just take it as a learning opportunity? How can I change and grow and evolve from this situation? And then, honestly, another idea that I have that I challenge people with is when life feels out of control, maybe it's life telling you that you're letting the ego run the show. And a big part of that excerpt from the book is talking about the ego. And I talk about the ego all the time in terms of sobriety and recovery and addiction. And obviously, I'm not the first one to bring this idea up, but the ego is the part of us that thinks it knows what's best for us. We have dreams, we have aspirations, we have wants, and we have needs that we personally, our ego, believes is best for us. But what if life feeling out of control or things going bad is more because we're moving in the wrong direction? What if we simply aren't going the way that maybe life wants us to go because our ego's telling us to go against the flow? It's like that analogy I've brought up before in writings and probably even in actually one of the episodes. It's like being in a boat in a river. Like our ego is forcing us to row upstream and we're not getting anywhere and we're going backwards and we're hitting boulders and we're hitting trees and bad thing after bad thing keeps happening. That's because we are literally trying to fight the flow and the river of life, and that's only going to make things harder. So what if part of the reaction emotionally, mentally, spiritually, when things feel out of control, my friends, or things feel like they're going bad, what if you just let go of the oars, let go of the rudder, just let the river and the water of life just carry you where it wants you to go, so you have a moment to breathe and to think about what needs to change, or maybe how your ego is calling the shots and how it's maybe causing you drama in your life when there doesn't need to be any. So just some food for thought. I know a lot of it's really kind of woo-woo, but the book is really powerful, and it got me thinking about some conversations in the here and now this week that I had with family and friends. And, well, I just wanted to share with you where I was at and what I was thinking off the cuff, because I want some of these episodes to be just really raw and vulnerable and unedited, because I think that there might be more power in that in the moment based on my week and what's happening in my life, which is why I'm doing these episodes. But that's it. I've probably taken up enough of your time, but I appreciate you listening. Much love, much life. I'm Clark with the Human Narrative Podcast, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.
You've been listening to another episode from the Human Narrative Podcast. Don't forget to like and share, and we hope you consider subscribing.